Yeah, now stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball podcast.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Talking Basketball podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul.
Hello. Another edition where we are not in the studio. If you couldn't hear last time, we have moved from what we're doing in
Northern
the studios.
studio and South studio.
We have
Mark.
split the
Say it
studios.
like that.
Exactly, something like that. But so all episodes will become like this from now, but there will still be episodes, so nothing's going to change there. But it's been a busy week in basketball, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it has, and I guess this is a special episode to talk about the NBA All-Star Weekend, Mark.
Absolutely. Can't too far without talking about that. But I would say, I don't really like the All-Star Weekend. I'm going to put it straight out at the beginning. I think it's lost quite a lot of sparkle over the years. Just maybe relevance. I don't know.
I think
What's your take?
a lot of people will agree with you on that. A lot of people would agree on you that. And we had this discussion, I want to say this time last year, and we concluded, and I'm going to conclude today with the same thing.
Yep.
To make the NBA All-Star Weekend great once again. Make All-Star Weekend great again, or whatever his slogan is.
Oh no.
To do that,
Yeah.
forget the All-Star game in its current format and get the NBA versus Europeans, or get the NBA if they want to, because I guess if you take the NBA Europeans, you could break it into two games. I'd like to see the NBA Europeans and the actual European team go over there and take on the NBA. They'll be playing then. They'll be playing then.
Yeah, no, they will.
Because
You're
the
right.
Europeans will be going over to, get a bit of bragging rights.
Would you think? I mean, that's It's so. Would you do NBA versus the world, or would you do US versus the world? Because US versus the world is kind of what a lot of people put forward when they were saying, like, you get Joker.
We'll see what you mean. No, I would
Joker,
have the
Luka, and all
NBA
those.
taking on Europe.
Okay.
And those European players could come from the NBA, because obviously you're going to have Luka and Jokic and some of those other guys.
Yeah.
But you also would do it, get some players from the EuroLeague.
Yes. Yeah, you would. But that's what I mean. So if you make it NBA versus the rest of the world, then let's say Giannis, for example, would play for the NBA. Whereas if you got Team USA.
Oh no, sorry. So he plays for Greece, so he's going to Europe. Giannis.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So you would have it USA versus rest of the world.
Maybe USA and Canada, maybe.
Oh,
we'll give them
no,
Canada.
you can't do that. Well, why would you give them Canada? Because Canada had, if you look at the All-Star game, not even the All-Star game, what was the one previous? They had, like in the Olympic games and stuff, you look at people like SGA, just as an example, he's Canadian, so he's coming from there. There are quite a few Canadian players in the NBA at the moment.
I know that, and that's why I said, by doing this, you're going to lose. Because obviously you get like 20 odd players get to be an all-star. So if you do it the way I'm suggesting, potentially half of those go. But
would you change it
the
next year then?
I'm going to give you a fact. I'm going to give you a fact.
Fact.
The last 6 NBA MVPs have been European.
Yeah, they have,
Fact.
Yep. Absolutely.
That speaks for itself. And you know what? I think if you put a European team, I don't think the NBA would want to see what would happen. And that's why they don't do it.
So, no, I agree with that. I don't think they'd like it. I mean, you look, Joker's won it 3 times, is it? He's won MVP.
Yeah.
Giannis has won it twice, I think he has. So And Joel Embiid was one at once. So the
Yeah,
last,
they're just 6.
yeah,
Oh, hang on, Embiid. Well, he kind of changes, doesn't he? He's American again now.
wow, yeah, but yeah. It's
We'll see.
yeah. I mean, he doesn't play anyway, does he? He's on my notes for NBA, so
Yeah.
we'll get into that. But
We gotta say the NBA.
Would you change it
All-Star
every year?
weekend was.
Would you change it every year? Because if you're going to do, say, let's just say you do the version you're talking about, so it's.
I've just had an amazing idea. Amazing idea.
Oh.
Get 14 because they're kind of doing this 4-team thing at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. NBA Americans.
Yep.
Yeah. NBA. Get a European team.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. You want to get 4 teams around the world, and it's like a knockout tournament.
Yeah.
Let's see how good the American NBA guys are.
Yeah.
There's a bit of pride online there.
They would do it. Well, they could do it, but they won't do it because it is the NBA All-Star weekend, isn't it? They would say the Olympics or FIBA World Championship for that.
That's what.
And then when they don't win those, they say, oh, they don't really count. The NBA is a bubble of one, isn't it? It's not interesting.
Yeah. So the only way around it would be NBA America versus the NBA rest of the world.
Yes, I agree.
The only thing I think that might not work is because the European players, especially, might have been. I just remember that one All-Star weekend where Luka shot from the halfway line, and who's the guy who plays for Phoenix? Is it Phoenix? Booker.
Devin
Booker. Him?
Devin Booker.
And they were both kind of looking down.
Yep.
And it went in, and they were joking. It's like, those guys have been indoctrined into the this is just a laugh kind of run.
Oh yeah. I don't want to see
Whereas
that.
if you got like Panathinaikos, I went for it. I went for that name.
It's not bad. We know where you were
champions.
going. We know where you were going.
That's what you could do. Get the current EuroLeague champions, and they play your NBA team.
Yeah, of course.
Or get the EuroLeague All-Stars to take them on.
Yep.
It's just boring, and if I'm frank, it's embarrassing. You have to go to the early noughties and to watch a decent. When you got people heaving up shots uncontested from the halfway line, you got people bouncing off the backboard, defenders getting out the way so they can get that good dunk. Look, it's okay to watch the highlights but it's just like no one. It's a bit of a joke, isn't it? And I think the NBA All-Star Weekend was saved by Mac McClung. I've seen his locker room, Mark.
You have seen his locker room, yeah.
Hey, look.
When he gets his 10-day contract to go and play for Orlando.
Hey, I think I'm a lot. You know what? I've not commented on when I was in Orlando, and I was going around and seeing some of these things. I've not really commented because I thought it'd be a bit unfair to say like some players' locker room was untidy. It's literally someone's just thrown a hand grenade in there, and that everything was on the floor.
Perfect.
Mac McClung, his wasn't. His was like tidy, neat, all put away, shoes lined up. It was like I didn't go in. I just kind of looked as I walked past. But his was pretty tidy.
He's never there though. He's always playing.
Oh, that's harsh.
Well, no, he always plays for Oslo in the G League. So because he's always playing in the G League, he always gets called up to the Magic for like a couple of 10-day contracts. Does the All-Star weekend, boom, then he goes back to G League again.
I think
in
he
the G League,
the NBA All-Star.
Oh, he has, and that's the third time he's won the contest as well. I mean, look, if you want to talk about that contest, there was a guy called Castle from the Spurs. He did some monster dunks as well. And there's a really nice one in particular where he spun one way and then put it around his back and like counter spun in the way in which he was going to dunk. So you think he'd go up and do a dunk that way, and he spun like away from the rim and then jammed it with his left hand. You're like, and a lot of the crowd were quiet, and all the people who were dunking it were like, "That, how did you do that?" And you realise
you almost want to watch the slow motion, don't you? To then
so that's what McDonald. That's what I was going to say. So McClung did that when he did one of his dunks, and it was the one where he dunked it and he jumped over the guy, tapped it on the rim, and then dunked it. Spoiler alert, that's what he did. But when he did that, he then went, go replay, go watch the replay, because a lot of people were like, it just looked like he did the jump over and dunk it. And it wasn't until you see the replay you go, oh, he touched the rim first and then dunked it. Like,
yeah. That slow-mo makes you appreciate what they've done a lot more, I think.
Oh, and with that guy, with Castle doing that reverse, that dunk, that you think, that's incredible. I mean,
there were a few blunders in there where there's a few attempts, and it's like, that didn't go. Oh, second attempt. Oh, that didn't go.
He's a lot shorter than a lot of people realise. When you see him,
McClung.
Yeah, when you see him go over and he's chatting to the other players, he's like 6'1", 6'2", like when you compare them to a couple of them, they're like 6'6", 6'8" guys. He looks visibly shorter, and he's getting up there, and you think he's a very acrobatic guy.
He was in Orlando squad when I was out there. I will, like, you know, we had the pleasure of watching him warm up with a couple of the guys. I can't recall watching him come into the game.
Yeah.
Can't recall seeing him come into the game, but I remember watching him play thinking, you're known for dunking the crap out of it now.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah, that's it.
Why don't you do that? Or maybe he just can't do it over people.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think he has that aggression, that absolute power of, oh my God, do it in a game over someone.
So people asked about LeBron we'll get to that in the whole LeBron nonsense, but someone asked him, like, do you ever regret not going into the dunk competition? Because he never had, and he was saying, oh, timing was not right, or I had injury, or, you know, rubbish. The truth is, LeBron's got a very well-known big tomahawk dunk, like his in-game dunk. But that's what he does in like an in-game thing, isn't it? You don't think of LeBron as someone who does something flashy, or he's just a big, super big, strong guy who just smacks it home. But, you know, he's got a bag of one. So he knows there's no point in me going into the competition, because I'm not going to say an MJ. I'm not a Vince Carter. I'm not someone. I'm not Jay Morant. I can't jump up and do something.
Imagine seeing like him do the Jordan free throw. That would be great. It'd be great. He should. I bet he could have done it in the early parts of his career.
Yeah, of course he should. But there's, you know what? He's had a very unusual career, and I think a lot of people. I'm not a giant fan of his. In terms of the way he approaches the game necessarily. You can't knock out the fact that he is. You can't knock out the fact that he's, you know, been doing this 20-odd years, and came into the game as a superstar, like with all this expectation. Like Carmelo Anthony outscored him for his whole rookie season, and won every Rookie of the Month, and yet LeBron won Rookie of the Year. Like,
LeBron is the best at marketing.
He has been set up from being in high school, coming straight out and going in.
The face of the league.
Exactly. And he's done that for 20-odd years. So you've got to give him credit.
Jordan had that as well, though. Jordan very much had that. I loved it. In the All-Star weekend, all the stories come out. And I loved hearing the one about Kobe Bryant when he was playing in the twilight of Michael Jordan's career. And in the All-Star game, someone whispered over to him and it was kind of like, look, it's between you and Jordan who's going to win the MVP of the All-Star game, and you just missed these free throws so he can get it in his last. And Kobe just, I can't remember who said it to Kobe, but whoever did said his face just looked at me with sheer disgust.
Yeah. No, he's there to compete.
No,
he was like,
no way.
That was his last one,
and I'm going to beat him.
That was his last one when he was in the Wizards. And that was I think he was just turning 40 or something like that. And he was like, yeah, I'm not backing down. The best way to send him off is send him off. Like, I'm not backing down from it.
Yeah.
But look, did you see LeBron's media segment that he did?
No.
So,
was it Le Tragic?
Was. So for those who don't know, LeBron went to do it, and even in the photo shoots.
Oh yes.
So he went to the photo shoot, and the first thing he did was like, everyone's wearing the kit except you, and you're there in normal clothes, just standing there. It always has to be about him, and everyone, and a lot of people, even the people who are LeBron fans, I
forgot what you were saying. Can I say it, Mark?
Go on.
Are you going to allow me to say it?
Yeah.
He was a bit of a dick, wasn't he?
He was.
Just say it.
He was.
Just say it frankly, because he's removed the opportunity for someone else to have a position in that
Snowflake
All-Star.
warning.
And it's just like, oh yeah, sorry, snowflake warning. If you heard that, I apologize. I allegedly said it.
Allegedly. It was allegedly said.
Yeah, but like he's a bit of an a-hole for doing that because
100%.
I get it. He's like, oh, let me wait right to the last minute, and if I can play, I can play. That's probably what's going on. But at the same time, it's like,
I know that's the thing he said.
Yeah.
90 minutes
you
before
don't
the
do
game.
it for other stuff. You don't do it for. You don't do it for other games. So why? Like, it's come on, man.
So 90
I
minutes
did
before
find it
that
funny
game,
when
he
he
didn't
put
do
his
it.
shorts on.
No.
He put his All-Star shorts on, and he was like,
That wasn't this
"Mate,
one. That was Olympics.
These are a bit tight."
Nope, that was the
Oh, was it?
Olympics. That was the Olympics.
okay.
It's a clip going around that everyone was like, look at him in the All-Star. Look at the kit. It's the wrong kit. That was the Olympic one. He did that when he came over to London. But a lot of people, it's like the world now, isn't it? One bit of media goes around and everyone jumps on it. But for the media day, so he didn't put the kit on or anything. And then they actually had an interview with him afterwards. And one of the people that was asking something about it, they said it was 90 minutes before the All-Star game he just pulled out. And the way he was talking was like he was part of the league or like part of the NBA, that side of the pond, the management side. Like he said, well, we got to look at how we can keep the fans engaged, keep the fans interested.
Okay.
He was using that sort of language, and I thought, okay. And my note I've put here is he was talking about fans like they were commodities. That's how he was talking about them, and thought
he's going to be an owner at some point, isn't he? He's going to be part of something. You'd imagine.
He's trying to be in the Las Vegas one, but one
Do you know what would be
person stood
funny?
up and asked a
on.
really good question. In all of these sort of things, everyone's talking about that. Some guy stood up, and apologies if you listen to this. I forgot who it was. I didn't go back to listen to it. But they basically said, what courts did you play on growing up that you remember as fondly as like a good court? So that like we could go and play on now. Like what courts growing up in Ohio do you remember like fondly? And I thought, do you know what? I've never heard him answer that question. And he was sitting there going, oh, and when like we've had it with interviews and stuff, someone asks a question and it slightly disarms them because they're not expecting it. And it really comes from this is a place. And he started listing off places that he used to play in. And I really liked that because I thought, he was actually saying, that was a nice, that was a good court. And well, we went down there, we had a few games in this place, and that place had a good, and it was someone just like accessed a memory for him, and he just sort of went out of media mode and just answered a normal question. But I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Because you do get the same waffle a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
With questions. That's great when you get someone who says that.
Yeah.
You know what? It'd be
completely
really
unexpected.
funny. I always want him to talk like it sometimes. If he started talking about himself in the third person, so he was like, "Well, the groin was strained, so the LeBron couldn't play, and the system."
I'm sure he does at home. Where is LeBron's trousers? Where is LeBron's shoes?
So should we run through it? Do you know, talking about the slam dunk competition?
Yep.
I don't know why I never thought about this, but I saw some clips from Matt McClung training for it.
Yeah.
And I hear lots of players turn around and say that they just do the dunks on the spot. Loads of players say, I just turn up and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it. And it's like, I always think...
He's taken a year to practice. He's
like,
seeing people and talking to them. And
there's clips where he's in Orlando and he's brought that car out and he's practicing jumping over that car.
Oh, blimey.
And then further to that, there's clips of him actually practicing that exact car dunk in the NBA All-Star weekend, like before he's done it. So people would have seen what's coming up. So I do wonder how much of that is rehearsed of getting the right camera angles. This is what's coming. I don't know, but I've seen a handful of clips where he's done it. So he can do that rattle.
They must have known the car's coming out. Someone's going to be
so
like,
he was practicing that, and I never really thought, hang on, he's got to be practicing over a car, hasn't he?
Yeah. Got it. I mean, no one's going to be like, by the way, we're just going to go to the car park and drive my car in. It's like, logistically, they've got to know that.
I mean, He's a 3-time winner now. Is he the only 3-time winner?
I think so.
I don't know.
I think so.
But look, he set himself out amongst a very select few as, you know, one of the greatest dunkers in the All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
I would love the NBA. Obviously, it's the NBA weekend. I'm just going to find it for you. There's an amazing dunker.
Yep. Well, ironically, as you say, you're talking about the dunking, and I said about Stephen Castle, who was the for the Spurs. He was actually in the Rising Stars game, and he was the MVP of the Rising Stars game. So it's not surprising, really, because I mean the guy he had some wicked haircut as well. But yeah, what a dunker! He is absolutely mobile, and obviously has a good all round game because he is in the NBA. It does. I'm not bagging on Mac McClung because I think I like watching his dunks. It's not as much about how impressive the dunk is sometimes as how he manages to dunk it. It's kind of reminds me a little bit like Spud Webb, like I was saying, with his height, because he's shorter than some of these other guys by quite a significant margin. When he's then jumping up over a Shaq like he did last time, you go, oh, okay, you're going somewhere. I'm sure I think that was last year he jumped over Shaq because he did it again this year and did something different, I think.
Oh, who, McClung?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it one year. So some of the techniques for this is like when they jump up and they grab the ball, they actually grab the ball and then use
push off.
A bit of a push off. I mean, you know, it's great innovation, I think, on the actual player. But I will say a huge shout out. I think they should get this guy or guys like this guy. Sorry, my voice is going. But there's a guy called Jordan Kilgannon.
Jordan Kilgannon, yeah. There's a great clip with him and Gary Payton.
Gary Payton, yeah. Like, that's where Gary Payton's going, he ain't going to do it. He ain't going to do it. And then it's like he does this absolute rocket windmill. And I think he came up with I am assuming he was the one. Hang on, sorry. I'm assuming he is the one who invented, I think it's called the scorpion dunk.
The one behind here like this.
Yeah. That's great. And it would be great to see something like that at the NBA All-Star weekend, even if it was a warm-up.
So this is where the problem comes in. Because the NBA is the NBA and it's supposed to be celebrating the NBA, only NBA players can go into it doing these competitions, normally. But this year they changed that. Because, I mean, yes, you've had Mac McClung and they give him a 10-day contract. That's how they get round getting him, because he doesn't play for the Magic. He plays for Oslo, which is their G League team. But they call him up and keep him on the roster, and every year he goes and wins a dunk competition. But this year they did a competition. I think it was Mr. Beast actually did the competition to win 100,000 with a fan.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And that was Dame had to hit 3 threes, and the other guy just had to hit 1.
Yeah, it was good. That was good.
I really like that because everyone, like you had Kenny was coming down, then Shaq came down. Everyone's giving him coaching, like just calm down, take the shot, go more to the center. They were really like, we want you to win it. And what was weird is it reminded me of like halftime when you're in a halftime show and everyone's getting behind the players and that sort of thing. They brought that atmosphere, and the fact that he nailed it right at the very end as they were going to call it quits, and he nailed that shot, and everyone went
Dave just
mental.
walked off.
Yeah, Dave walked off. He's like, I've had it.
I'm not a huge fan of Mr. Beast.
No.
There's a little part of me it's a bit entertaining, but there's a little part of me when he gets money out, it's like dance monkey dance. That's how it feels to me.
But that's how it works. Like, that's the premise.
I'm gonna make you do something, and you know, and he's not too bad because he's just saying to people quite light-hearted, like how many press ups can you do or things like that. But if it was, sometimes I think you're.
But they brought him in to get eyeballs. That's the only reason they've got him in, because he's doing Beast games. He's done the other bits. He's the largest YouTuber in the world. That's why they're bringing him in to get eyeballs, to get young people. Oh, well, Mr. Beast was at the basketball, and that is literally the sole reason. And you go, it's fine for some of the
young kids.
Get some of the young kids in it, but I mean, do they stick around after they've seen that little segment? I don't know. But
the other thing, can I just say I didn't like was I think Kevin Hart is a great comedian. He's great in films, but I didn't like him dissing Shaq. I think the NBA All-Star Weekend is what you just said about celebrating the NBA and all of that.
Yep.
And he was kind of like, it was a bit like too much of a diss on Shaq when he was joking. And like, I get he was joking, but it was like, man, I didn't really like that little bit. It was, you know what I'm talking. I can't remember what he said about Shaq, but it's like, man, what are you saying that for? Like, maybe he was talking about what he was dressed like.
I think that's part of the problem.
Let's jog on.
But that is part of the problem, that they do have these, like they had the celebrity game. I don't think anyone watched that. No one cares. Like,
Mark, we need to get in that celebrity game. We'd dominate.
No thanks. That'd be like, who is that?
Seriously.
No, they're not celebrities in there. That's the problem. It's just
exactly. We got a shot, Mark. Our podcast is approaching 750,000 downloads.
This is true.
Months.
This is true.
Like,
but we ain't getting to the NBA. I mean,
$250,000 every 6 months.
You want us to come next year, NBA, or do something in Europe? Give us a call. We'd love to do it. But I mean, if you want to see like middle-aged men embarrassing themselves publicly,
speak for yourself only.
That is our wheelhouse.
Look, I'm not going to say I will dunk it if I got that opportunity, but I would try.
That's never going to happen. I would try. If you put a trampoline
it might
out,
be the greatest dunk you've ever seen.
You get the mascot.
I'll leave it there.
Get a mascot and a trampoline. I'll give it a go. I might injure myself severely, but it'll be telly at least. But if we're going to wrap up the All-Star game,
wrap it up.
Tyler Hero did the 3-point contest. Did anyone actually watch it? That's all I'm going to say.
I was surprised because I actually think that's one of the highlights, especially in the modern NBA, in the way the games go in. I was quite surprised everyone wasn't. We've done a 3 winning.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It was just almost not a big deal at all. But the he did do well. But the one thing I did like from the All-Star was the intros. Did you see the player intros? There's a clip. The NBA have actually put it on their website, and they cut it down so you can see each of them. I don't know why, it was just really funny because they introduced each player, but the guy who was obviously introducing everyone was really, really getting behind it. And obviously they had 3 teams, so after a while they're calling him out. This guy's like, is this ever going to end? We could just tell. But some people come out and they're all really super serious, and then other people come out, they're all slapping hands, and it's but they had the band playing at the same time. That's where I was going with it. So as it was coming out, the band were there, like properly jamming out as the people were coming out. You thought, yeah, that was it was very rocky and very, I liked it. It was good. But that, like, do that for an intro. Yeah, that's great. That's what you want to see. But then when you have a game that's crap, snowflake.
And there's so many stoppages. So many stoppages. It's like, get on with that. I think it was Trey Young who turned around and said, I think the fans want to watch us playing basketball more, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's totally an advocate for why we're not playing harder. Like, but then ironically, he only got there because he got overlooked by other people pulled out. And that was my only beef with Giannis, actually. Giannis couldn't play in the end because he was injured.
What an amazing jacket he had on. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He had like a Letterman jacket with like M and B on either side. And that looked absolute spot on.
Yep.
What a cool jacket that was.
Yeah. But it was a shame that he couldn't play. And the reason I say that is because they all got nominated. And like LeBron, if you know you're not going to play, and he knew he wasn't going to play. The fact that they had the photo shoot whenever it was before, he already knew he wasn't playing because he wasn't in the photo shoot without
snowflake warning mark.
Snowflake warning. Yeah.
Le dick.
Exactly.
He was a bit of a douchebag there.
It's all about him.
He was a bit of a douchebag. Yeah,
it's all about him. And the problem is, you go, that shouldn't count. He's like, well, he was nominated for the All-Star. Doesn't count. He shouldn't count. He didn't play. He said, I'm not playing. Well, okay, in that case, you might be nominated, but someone else. And the reason I hate that is because there's other people out there who didn't go. Sabonis, for example, should have been in there. There's plenty of players that you go, they should be counted, and they weren't. Like genuine players that people go, why are they? They're not included because you took up your spot, but then you know you're already not playing there. I think that's terrible. So as far as the All-Star goes, I mean, it's a swing and a miss. I don't like the court still.
Step in the right. Yeah, you're right. I think it was a step in the right direction. There was a little bit more competitiveness, but still, there's this. No one wants to get injured. People just want to be part of it. Don't want to get injured. It's not. Yeah, it's not a priority. And I think the only way you make it priority is have America take on Europe or the world.
Yep.
But like I said, the problem with that is you get 24 NBA All-Stars. Well, now you would get only like 12 Americans can actually get in.
I think the only way they could do it is to do the only way they would do it is NBA teams versus the NBA All-Star versus the world. I think that's the only way they do it, but it would have to be NBA. So that would mean Joker and everyone would be playing for the NBA as opposed to Paris or Panathinaikos or something like that.
And we've said this before. The world is catching up with America in basketball. Who are the current world champions? Germany. Where did America finish that? I mean, I know they didn't have the new dream team, but they still had a good squad.
Yep.
And the world can only play the American team that gets picked.
Yep.
And America didn't walk the Olympics. No, Serbia are there.
Struggled.
France are there. And if it wasn't for certain moments like Kevin Durant just going nuts or Steph Curry going nuts, you do look at it and go, I wonder if.
Oh God, 100%, 100%. And those teams and the way that they're all put together are not. Some of the players work really well together, but you've just talked about LeBron, KD, Steph. They're on the twilight. They're on the way out. Yeah. So all these things that LeBron's talking about, with the NBA have got to look at, that it's sustainability. I mean, that's what they're all talking about with basketball. How do they're losing viewers they're hemorrhaging viewers in the NBA, and they can't work out why. It's like
too many threes.
It's too many threes, and it's not we might as well round up some NBA news with the All-Star. One of the main ones was Victor Wembanyama is now out for the rest of the season because he had a blood clot in his shoulder.
A lot of fans are putting a comparison to the Spurs and Robinson being injured so they could get who was it? Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So they're looking at going, and look, you've got what's the guy called? He's come in. I want to say Briggs. Is it Briggs? What's the guy? There's a guy playing for Duke at the moment. Look, let's face it, he is an absolute beast. And whoever gets him, it's like, wow.
Yeah. Sorry, the name's just off my head. Yeah. He's an absolute monster.
I want to say Briggs.
He's number one.
Let me have a quick look. He is talking about staying at Duke for another year. I don't know.
I think that's brilliant. I think it's not Dalton Neck because he's in the Lakers, but honestly, I think that's a great idea. Because everyone's saying, go in there, do this. Why? Why do it now? They're doing it now because they're desperate for it.
Oh, not Briggs. Cooper Flagg.
Yeah. And you look at that and you think, those guys, they want him in the NBA. Why does the NBA want him in? Well, because they want eyes on him. That's what they want him in there.
He currently leads Duke basketball in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, as well as minutes.
He's an absolute weapon. Finish.
Yeah, so
Go there and finish.
A lot of people comparison the a potential tank to get Cooper Flag.
I think that's. I mean, look, people tried doing the tanking thing last time to get Wemby.
Le tank.
The Spurs aren't doing great at the moment. You know, they got Wemby, who's now got this injury, and they've had Popovich out since November after he had his stroke. Like, he hasn't gone back as a coach. He's been coaching at San Antonio over 20 years. Like, that's their core thing. They play basketball a certain way, and they have done since like the 90s. So for them to have those things change, it's kind of quite significant, I think, for them. But if we're going to talk about injuries, the big one in the room, it's got to be Joel Embiid.
I mean,
it's just.
I've not been shy telling you this every time. It's a waste of space. Like, what has he done in the playoffs? Like, what's he done in the really in the playoffs? I feel for Philadelphia. Just look at the team.
I've got a quote from him.
What are they doing?
They said about what's going on. Is he written off for the season and everything because they're going to fine the NBA they'll fine him and stuff? And I said, no, he's not finished for the season. We're still doing weekly. We're doing whatever it is. And that's his coach, Nick Nurse, obviously. Nick famously coached in the UK legend. As well.
UK legend.
Embiid was quoted saying, "The way I was playing a year ago is not the way I'm playing right now." Well, of course.
It's worse.
It sucks at the moment. I probably need to fix the problem out, and then I'll be back at this level. But it's hard to have to trust when you're not yourself. Yeah. And that's what he said. And you look at it and think, unfortunately, mate, you were doing handstands in practice last week, and you were written out for not playing in the game. And it sounds silly, but you know cameras are on you. And a lot of people are saying, well, that doesn't show anything. That doesn't mean match fitness. And you go, I agree. But if you're swanning around, if you're doing handstands, repeated handstands, and like he's a 7-foot dude, so coming down on his knees like that, I'm sure a handstand is not the best exercise he could be doing if he's got a real knee issue. Like, that surely is not landing back down from I don't know. I'm no kinesthesiologist, but I'm just pretty sure that is going to be bad for his knee, like the weight that he is, everything coming down on it. So, yeah, they're not very good. And what was hilarious is because he's been out and Paul George isn't playing and all that sort of stuff, the Bulls beat them this week by 32 points.
Yeah, that's what you're seeing some of the fans' faces at the end of that game. It was like,
yeah,
man, feel for you.
Absolutely embarrassing. But
just going back to the All-Star game, what was a little embarrassing was Wemby and Chris Paul doing the skills challenge. That was I get it. They were like, if you shoot that ball, it doesn't mean anything. It's all to do with time. So they're just trying to, they're being innovative, trying to think of a way they can guarantee that win.
Yep.
But it kind of, again, it's a little bit embarrassing. You think, okay, then it undermines the event. And you just think maybe you should give points for time points or something for the baskets going in. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or make it so it has an impact. But
it's just the
work. Yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. So
absolutely, it's the workaround stuff, isn't it? It's just no good. But there was two good highlights this week in the NBA. One of them was the Timberwolves playing the Thunder because they had a game, and I didn't watch it live. I had to go back and watch it afterwards because the Wolves were down. Spoiler coming in, but the Wolves were down by 25. Going into Q3, and it's like they were struggling. In Q4, like Anthony Edwards and everyone, they just turned up the heat. 41-19 was the scoring ratio in Q4. They absolutely stepped on it, and Anthony Edwards actually got up I think about 10-12 seconds left, got up for a massive block on SGA. Huge. Like, that was the game changer because it was basically, they're going to win that. Slaps that away. So I love that because I thought, it's the mental toughness of thinking we're down 25 points in its Q3. To come back from that to then go 41-19 in your Q4, that's huge. That is a mentally going, what are we doing here? So I love that. But the highlight of my week is, Adrian Wojnarowski, who is famous for Woj putting on. This is the latest person moving and doing all that sort of stuff. He's selling his phones. So
He's selling his what?
Phones. So
Phone?
No, his phones. He's got loads of phones. So basically, he was obviously famous for breaking all the news about who's trading, where everyone's going, all that sort of stuff. And they called them the Woj bombs because he'd have like multiple phones, and he'd just be sat there on I've got information here, I'm texting out on here and communicating with people. That's what he used to do. So he's got loads of these like iPhones and all that. He's put them up for auction. And then the money is going to go to, because he left ESPN and doing all that, and he went to one of the like state colleges or something like that, I think, to work on their basketball program. So he said all the money that comes to that is going to go straight into the pot for the basketball program, that's great. I think that's cool. But I just thought that's a bit of history, because he was very famous for a very, very long time for just telling people news, and like the players would find out from his tweet or something before even the teams had told them. He's like, oh, just got information this person's been trading. They're like, what? So he's actually selling his phones. Well, that's where we are now in this world. The phone itself has become a symbol of something.
Well, it's history, Mark. History.
It is.
Look, I got one thing to finish off as well.
Yep.
I want to highlight. Everyone was slagging him off, Luka, and his weight. He's lost over 20 pounds since being a Laker.
Yep.
But I wanted to share this with you, get your thoughts on this, because there's a little bit of criticism on the Lakers at the moment, because they're treating him like an off-ball role player. And they're saying the ball is out of his hands, and he's one of the greatest on-ball offensive threats in the NBA at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're forcing him out on the wing. That's kind of what all the talk's about.
Yes.
And then I saw this really interesting stat. So this is points per game before going to the Lakers and then after going to the Lakers. So this is the average. So Luka's 28.1 points per game, as a Laker 14.7. And then someone posted this, which I thought was really interesting. Dwayne Wade, same thing. Points per game went down. Bosh, same thing, went down. Kevin Love, same thing, went down.
Yep.
Kyrie Irving went down. Davis went down. Russell Westbrook went down. Really interesting, isn't it? They're all playing the system.
Yeah, well, of course they are. It's his way or no way. And like you say, on ball, one of the greatest defensive. As a Mav, they had I think they were ahead or winning the offensive points ratios or whatever it was for quite a few seasons over the last 4 or 5 years, because he's such a threat. It is what it is. I hope for his sake LeBron bows out. I don't wish LeBron to get an injury. I don't wish any player to get an injury, because that's a crappy way to finish off. All I'd say is it would be nice if time catches up with LeBron and he goes, you know what, I'm struggling now.
He's going to be in the league till he's 50, Mark.
But if he can tap out at
he's
that point,
going to get to 50,000.
The fact he was nominated for this All-Star and he didn't even bother, made no effort, did some silly little media thing where it made him look more like an owner than anything else. I looked at that and thought, if you step aside and let these young people come through, and use it as a hand, you've got your wish. You played with your son. You're not going to get Jordan's 6 rings. You're not going to do it. You're not going to beat that. You're not going to beat Kobe in 5. You're not going to get that. So it is what it is. You've got all these titles. You're in history. Move on.
So let's conclude.
He's
NBA
not even the
All-Star
best
weekend,
player.
Mark.
He's not even the best player in his own timeline.
Wow. LeBron slammed.
Wow.
Mark,
Steph's
let's
got the
wrap
same
it up.
numbers. Yes.
NBA All-Star 2025. What is your rating out of 10?
I'm giving it a 5. And the only reason I'm giving it a 5 is because I got to see Gary Payton speak, which was always cool. I thought they did a good production. I thought the production was nice. The dunk competition, I thought was interesting. It was better than some of the ones we've seen before. And I really liked that random guy who just won 100 grand, just because that was just really random. It was more like a local league or a normal divisional game. It had that feel to it. So I think the atmosphere they kind of got right. But the game, rubbish. The 3-point contest, rubbish. And those are the two things it should be all about. So I think they, I'll give them 5 out of 10.
I agree with that. I'll do the same thing. And I said that right at the start. I think McClung saved the NBA weekend for any value. And I'd almost be tempted to put the dunk competition, 3-point competition to end the thing. But yeah, I quite like the 3-point competition. Remember the old Miami Vice music? Look, we all had that on a Walkman, and we were shooting around the bloody key to that music.
I just thought it's weird. If you think of a 3-point competitions, there have been some brilliant ones. And this era, they are 3-point madness. And yet the competition's really pants. It doesn't make sense, does it? Why is the competition pants? So I don't know.
But look, McClung, 3-time NBA slam dunk
good for
competition winner.
Oh,
So
and
I think that saved it for me.
And I'm glad Steph Curry won the MVP for the main game, because he just turned up. Whether you like Steph or not, he turned up, he plays, he does what he does. You can't fault him for that. So it's worthy it going to him rather than someone else who's maybe not as deserving. So, but yeah, I think it's a hard. If someone said to me, "Here's a free ticket," yeah, of course you're going to go. If someone said you've got to pay for it, then you start thinking, "What am I getting out of this?" If it's an hour and a half of Kevin's,
can I play in the in that?
Well, it's like if you're watching Kevin Hart and a Panto and all
celebrity game, even though I'm not a celebrity.
But if you're watching stuff like that, what are you paying for, really? You're paying to be there and the vibe. I mean, I'm sure the atmosphere was nice. And that's why I say I think they'll get points for conveying that everyone seemed to be having fun. But I don't know. I want to see them going hard at each other. Simple as that. I want to see players going, I'm from the East and you're from the West. Go back to as it was. And
America versus Europe, Mark. America versus the world. That's what we've been like. Well, look, NBA, with the exception of Mac McClung, NBA All-Star Weekend slammed. Right.
Well, so ends another edition of the Talking Basketball Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to us. As always, I've been Mark.
I've been Paul, and look, let's face it, you don't have an All-Star Badminton weekend, and that speaks volumes. Speaks volumes.